Hi guys, I'm Charlie Book Fanatic, and today I'm going to tell you the ways I find new books. Last week I got a question from a viewer of mine who asked how I find my books, and today I will tell you how I do that. I had this video idea for a long time already, and it was already scheduled, so it all turned out nicely. So the first way is the most obvious way, and that is going to a bookstore. Going to a bookstore can be really helpful because if you walk around, you find new books, covers that interest you, summaries that interest you. Like, that's what I do actually. I go to bookstores. Mostly I go to secondhand bookstores because they have older books and they have books I've never even heard of. And when I go to a regular bookstore, it's mostly new books and books I have already heard of because I hear of a lot of new releases. Which leads me to the next way to find out about new books, which is obviously BookTube, which you are watching right now. There are so many BookTube channels, it's crazy. Like, I watch a lot of BookTubers and they always give me new ideas for books to read. I don't add much books to my TBR, especially not from BookTube, but sometimes one of the BookTubers I watch talks about a book and I'm like, yes, this is a book I want to read, and I add it to my TBR. So that's also a nice way to find out about new books because booktubers talk a lot about books I've never heard of. The third way is looking online for books, which is what I do most. For my books, most online. I almost never go to bookstores because it's kind of out of my way when I go to college or something like that. So I don't really do that much, but I do look on websites online. I use mostly Dutch websites, so you don't really have any advantage with that, so I can't really help you, but I know there are sites like Book Outlets and Book Depository that have really cheap books where you can look for that. But I mostly look online for books. I scroll through, but mostly I find really popular books I have already heard of, but sometimes there's a diamond in there, a hidden gem that I've never heard of. But I have to say the way that I use most is Goodreads. And I know a lot of people just use Goodreads to search for books and add them when they watch BookTube or something like that, or they just scroll through their feed with their friends and don't really look at anything else on the website. But Goodreads actually has so many features you can use to find out about new books. There is a recommendation section on Goodreads that gives you recommendations based on your shelves on Goodreads, so you can turn on the recommendations for any shelf you have, like your favorite shelf, but there's also recommendations based on genres you like there. You can put in all of your preferences and it will give you recommendations, like a lot of recommendations, and it will get refreshed and you will get new recommendations regularly. There's also the group feature where you can join groups on Goodreads and there you can talk about books and find out about new books. I'm mostly enrolled in groups where there are challenges hosted. Like, I participate in a lot of challenges, so there are these challenges where you can pick out books to read for the month or for the coming 3 months or for half a year, for the coming year, you know, those kind of challenges. But there are also so many groups where people group reads, like buddy reads, where you all read a book through the entire month and then talk about that book. That's also a good way to find out about new books, by the way, the group reads. But you can also just look to threads on those groups and find new books because some groups have threads for recommendations. There's also the giveaway feature on Goodreads, which I think enough people know about. Goodreads gives books away, some really popular books, but mostly books I have never heard of at least. You can look through the giveaway and you can find books you like, maybe. But the feature I definitely use most in Goodreads is the new releases function. And the new releases function makes that you can select a month and a year, and then the 200 most popular books, most added books to TBRs will be shown to you, and you can scroll through the 200 most popular releases for that month. And that is what I do basically every month for the next upcoming month. So in April, I will... Stupid fucking sun! I'm sorry guys, but I really dislike the sun when I'm trying to film. Anyway, I was talking about the new releases feature on Goodreads. In April, I look for the books in May, so I look through all the 200 books, except for the books that are like number 3, number 2, number 4 in a series that will be shown after the title of the book, obviously, so I skip past those ones, but I look at standalones, I look at first books in series, and I will look at everything. I mostly don't do this in one single day because it's obviously a lot of books to look through, but I do this spread out for several days. Another thing I do is I look for blogs, like actual blogs, and I add them to my blog lovin' feed. I use blog lovin' a lot. Like, I watch BookTube videos every single day, and then after that I read my blog lovin' missed posts, and in those posts people talk about a lot of books I've never heard of. Like, I follow romance books blogs, I follow new adult book blogs, I follow YA book blogs. I even follow someone who blogs about religious books. So I have a lot of different people in my feed, and I look at a lot of different books that way, so I get exposure to a lot of different books, which I think is a really good way to find out about new books and find new books to add to your TBR. Another way, if you don't have that much money to spend on books, is to go to the library and look for books that interest you. I sometimes go to the library without having any idea of what books I want to take with me, and I just walk through the adult shelves, the young adult shelves. I look at books that interest me that I've never heard of, and I take those books with me. A recent example of this is actually bind-up of 2 novellas by Brandon Sanderson. Obviously I've heard of Brandon Sanderson, but I've never heard of these 2 novellas. And I saw it in the adult English novel section in my local library, and I took it with me because the cover interested me. I've been wanting to read something else by Brandon Sanderson after Warbreaker and The Final Empire, and I took this bind-up with me. There's also some ways I haven't used before, but there's also subscription boxes where you subscribe monthly books, and the company that you subscribe to will send you a monthly box with bookish goodies and a new book you don't know about, obviously. So maybe you have never heard of this book and you will find out about a new book that way. You can also join Audible, which is an audiobook company where you can look through audiobooks to find new books to listen to. I don't listen to audiobooks, but maybe you can find a new book. I believe there's also service by someone on Redbubble who sends you a book based on something you buy. That's really vague. I'm going to have to explain that better. You can select different genres, so you can select, for example, sci-fi, and then the person behind this idea will send you a sci-fi book that you may have never heard of. But you can also put in some books you have liked before, and this person will find you a book based on those examples. So that is a really good way to have a surprise. I think this is done by Brittany from Under the Radar Books. I will link her channel down below so you can check that channel out. So those are the ways I find my new books. I'm sorry if I wasn't anything new for you in this, which I expect for most people. Let me know down below, how do you find new books? Maybe you could give someone else who watches this video a new idea, or maybe you can give me a new idea that I haven't heard of before. Thank you for watching. Goodbye!